comes a moment when the mind can no longer carry what it has been trying to control. You may reach that moment late at night when the house is quiet, but your thoughts are not. You may feel it while waiting for an answer that has not come, watching someone you love walk through a struggle you cannot solve, or standing before a future that refuses to explain itself. You have thought about every possibility. You have rehearsed every conversation. You have tried to prepare your heart for every outcome, and still peace has not arrived. Perhaps peace has not arrived because it was never meant to be found through control. Most of us were taught, in one way or another, that being responsible means carrying everything. We learned to measure our strength by how much pressure we could tolerate, how many people we could rescue, and how calmly we could hold the world together while something inside us was quietly becoming exhausted. We began to believe that if we stopped worrying, something terrible would happen, that if we loosened our grip, life would fall apart, that if we did not think about the problem every hour, we were not taking it seriously enough. But worry is not the same as love. Control is not the same as responsibility. And carrying a burden in your mind all day does not necessarily bring you closer to the wisdom required to meet it. There is a form of effort that comes from fear, and there is a form of action that comes from alignment. Fearful effort is restless. It demands an immediate answer. It tries to force open doors, change other people, predict the future, and make uncertainty disappear. Aligned action is quieter. It listens. It does what can be done with honesty and love, and then it releases what does not belong to it. This is the deeper meaning of letting go. Letting go is not abandoning your life. It is abandoning the belief that life is held together by your anxiety. It is not refusing to act. It is allowing action to arise from peace instead of panic. It is not saying that nothing matters. It is recognizing that what matters most cannot be protected by fear. The ego will resist this. The ego's deepest habit is to convince you that you are separate from God, separate from life, separate from the intelligence that causes a seed to open, a wound to heal, and morning to return without your command. Once you believe you are separate, you begin to feel personally responsible for controlling everything. You imagine that the future rests entirely on your decisions, that another person's healing depends entirely on your effort, and that peace must wait until the world obeys your plan. Yet, there is another part of you, deeper than the frightened mind. It does not need to shout. It does not argue with life. It recognizes that you are not an isolated being trying to survive in an unfriendly universe. You are an expression of the same sacred intelligence moving through all of life. You may call it God, Source, Spirit, Divine Love, or simply the presence within. The name is less important than the remembrance. You are not alone, and you were never designed to carry the whole universe on your shoulders. Think of your breathing for a moment. You can influence it, but you do not create the intelligence that breathes you while you sleep. Your heart continues without waiting for instructions. The earth turns. Seasons change. Life is taking place through laws and mysteries far greater than the conscious mind. This does not make you powerless. It places your power in its proper home. Your power is not the ability to control every outcome. Your power is the ability to choose the spirit you bring to this moment. You can bring fear, or you can bring faith. You can bring resentment, or you can bring forgiveness. You can bring force, or you can bring willingness. You can bring the question, how do I make life do what I want? Or you can bring the prayer, show me how to remain aligned with love while this unfolds. That shift changes everything. Perhaps there is something in your life right now that you have been trying to carry alone. It may be a relationship that has become uncertain. It may be the health of someone you love. It may be a child whose choices frighten you, a dream that has not taken shape, a loss that still has no explanation, or a decision that seems to contain too many unknowns. The mind keeps returning to it because the mind believes repetition creates control. It replays the same thoughts and calls this problem solving even when no new wisdom is being produced. Notice what happens in the body when the mind travels into a future it cannot know. The jaw tightens, the chest becomes heavy, the stomach contracts, the body begins living inside an event that has not happened. You may be sitting safely in a room, yet every cell is responding to an imagined tomorrow. This is how fear steals the only place where life can actually meet you, the present moment. God is not waiting for you only at the end of the problem. God is present in the middle of the uncertainty. The sacred is not postponed until the diagnosis changes, the relationship heals, the money arrives, the apology comes, or the path becomes clear. The divine presence is here in this breath before the answer, but you cannot feel that presence while demanding that the present be somewhere else. Surrender begins when you stop making peace dependent on a future condition. You may say, I will be peaceful when I know what will happen, but life asks whether you can touch peace while you do not know. You may say, I will trust when I see evidence, but spiritual trust is not a reward given after certainty. It is the willingness to remain connected to love before certainty arrives. This does not require you to deny your fear. Denial is another form of resistance. You do not need to pretend that you are calm when you are not. You can place a hand over your heart and admit, I am afraid. I do not know how this will unfold. I wish I could control it. Honesty opens the door that spiritual performance keeps closed. God does not need a polished version of you. The presence of love can meet you exactly where you are. Then you can ask a simple question, what belongs to me in this moment? Perhaps what belongs to you is making a phone call. Perhaps it is having an honest conversation, keeping an appointment, setting a boundary, apologizing, asking for help, or taking one practical step. Do that step with your whole heart. But do not confuse your step with the entire staircase. The next step belongs to you. The final outcome does not. This is where many people become exhausted. They are trying to perform God's part and their own part at the same time. They want to choose their actions, manage everyone's reactions, determine the timing, guarantee the result, prevent all pain, and understand the meaning before the experience has even unfolded. No human nervous system can carry such a demand without suffering. Your responsibility is sacred, but it is limited. You are responsible for the honesty of your words, not for controlling how another person receives them. You are responsible for the love in your actions, not for forcing someone else to change. You are responsible for listening to your inner guidance, not for making the road reveal every mile in advance. You are responsible for what you choose now. You are not responsible for holding the entire future together. There may be someone you have been trying to save. Because you love them, you can see the pain in their choices. You can see where fear is leading them. You may offer advice, support, patience, and prayer. Yet there comes a point when helping becomes carrying, and carrying becomes control. The line is crossed when your peace begins to depend on another person following the path you believe they should take. Love does not mean taking over another soul's journey. Love can remain close without becoming responsible for every lesson. It can tell the truth without manipulating. It can offer a hand without dragging. It can say, I am here, while also saying, I cannot live this for you. Sometimes the most loving act is to stop interfering with the consequences that may become another person's teacher. The ego often calls this abandonment because the ego believes love must be proven through exhaustion. But true love does not require self-erasure. When you lose yourself in the effort to rescue another, resentment eventually enters the space where compassion once lived. You begin giving from depletion, speaking from hidden anger, and measuring your worth by whether you are needed. You are not valuable because you can carry everyone. You are valuable because the life of God is expressing itself through you. Your worth existed before anyone depended on you, approved of you, thanked you, or understood you. You do not need to earn belonging by becoming indispensable. This may be difficult to accept if you have spent years being the strong one. Perhaps you learned early that there was no room for your needs. You became sensitive to every shift in another person's mood. You learned to prevent conflict, absorb tension, and keep peace at any cost. Over time, you may have confused keeping others comfortable with being loving. But peace created by abandoning yourself is not peace. It is silence covering pain. Letting go may require you to release the need to be understood by everyone. It may require you to disappoint someone whose expectations have depended on your lack of boundaries. It may require you to say no without creating a long defense. It may require you to stop explaining your heart to someone committed to misunderstanding it. This is not a rejection of love. It is a return to truth. Love and truth are not enemies. A boundary expressed without hatred can be an act of spiritual alignment. It says, I honor the sacred life within you, and I will also honor the sacred life within me. The moment you begin to live this way, fear may rise. You may wonder who will leave, who will judge you, or who will call you selfish. Let them have their response. Their response belongs to their journey. Your task is not to control their image of you. Your task is to remain inwardly aligned with what is loving, honest, and whole. The ego is always concerned with image because it builds identity from the outside. It asks, how do they see me? Do they approve? Am I ahead? Have I failed? The deeper self asks a different question. Am I living from the presence of love? When that becomes the question, comparison begins to lose its power. You stop looking at another person's season as evidence that your own life is late. A flower does not accuse itself of failure because another flower opened first. A tree does not force its branches to copy the shape of a tree nearby. Each living thing unfolds through an intelligence appropriate to its nature. Your life also has a rhythm. What appears to be delay may be preparation. What feels like emptiness may be space. What looks like rejection may be redirection. You do not need to create a comforting story about every disappointment, but you can remain open to the possibility that your limited view is not the whole view. The mind wants immediate meaning because meaning feels like control. Yet some experiences reveal their purpose slowly. A door closes, and only years later do you understand what it protected you from. A relationship ends, and after the grief has moved through you, you discover a self you had abandoned. A period of waiting seems empty, but in that silence, your values become clear. Trust does not mean pretending that every loss feels good. It means refusing to make fear the final interpreter of your life. Loss is one of the great teachers of surrender because loss reveals the limits of force. You may have loved deeply, tried sincerely, prayed faithfully, and still watched something change. The mind then travels backward. It asks what you should have said, what you should have noticed, and what you could have done differently. Reflection can bring wisdom, but self-punishment cannot change the past. Acceptance begins when you stop demanding that yesterday become something other than what it was. Acceptance does not call injustice acceptable. It does not excuse betrayal, deny grief, or remove consequences. It simply ends the argument with reality. It says, this happened. I would not have chosen it. I may not yet understand it, but I will no longer sacrifice this moment, trying to rewrite a moment that is gone. A hand clenched around the past cannot receive the life that is here now. This is why forgiveness is part of letting go. Forgiveness is not pretending that the wound did not matter. It is refusing to make the wound your permanent identity. It is the decision to stop carrying an old event into every new morning. You can remember and still release. You can learn and still remain open. You can protect yourself without building a prison around your heart. Perhaps you are waiting for an apology. Perhaps you believe your peace cannot return until another person understands what they did. But when your healing depends on someone else's awareness, you place the key to your inner life in their hands. They may never become conscious enough to offer the words you deserve. Must your freedom wait for their awakening? You can take the key back. You can say, what happened mattered. My pain was real. I will honor the lesson. I will make wiser choices. But I will not allow this person to occupy the center of my consciousness forever. Forgiveness may not happen in one dramatic moment. It may happen each time the memory returns and you choose not to rehearse another imaginary argument. It may happen when you feel anger and listen for the grief beneath it. It may happen when you stop using continued suffering as proof that you were wronged. And then there is the forgiveness you may owe yourself. You look back with the awareness you have today and condemn the person you were yesterday. You ask why you stayed, why you trusted, why you ignored your intuition, or why you spoke from fear. But the earlier version of you did not possess your present understanding. That person was trying to find safety, love, and belonging with the consciousness available at the time. You do not heal your past self by standing above them in judgment. You heal by sitting beside them in compassion. You may say inwardly, you were afraid, you were learning, you did not know what you know now. I release you from the demand to have been perfect. In that release, the past becomes instruction rather than identity. The true self is always larger than the story. You may have called yourself the abandoned one, the betrayed one, the responsible one, the one who must always be strong, or the one life never chooses. These stories can become familiar homes, even when they are painful. But no event has the power to define the totality of what you are. Before the disappointment, there was presence. Beneath the fear, there is presence. After the role falls away, presence remains. This quiet awareness is not damaged by every thought that passes through it. It is like the sky holding a storm. The storm may be fierce, but the sky does not become the storm. When fear moves through you, try changing the language. Instead of saying, I am afraid, notice, fear is present. Instead of saying, I am broken, notice, pain is moving through me. This is not a trick of words. It is a remembrance that you are the awareness, experiencing the emotion, not the emotion itself. You do not have to fight the storm. You can allow it to move while remaining rooted in the awareness that holds it. What you resist often grows louder. What you meet with compassionate attention begins to change. This is the gift of stillness. Stillness does not always remove the problem, but it removes the mind's constant demand that the problem be solved immediately. In stillness, you can finally hear the difference between fear and guidance. Fear is urgent, repetitive, and catastrophic. Guidance is often simple. It may say, rest. It may say, speak honestly. It may say, do not send that message tonight. It may say, ask for help. It may say, this season is complete. The ego wants a complete map. Spirit offers a next step. You may create a small practice of surrender. Sit quietly for a few minutes before the noise of the day begins. Place both feet on the ground. Feel the breath entering and leaving. Then bring to mind the burden you have been carrying. Do not analyze it. Simply name it. This is the relationship I cannot control. This is the answer I do not have. This is the person I cannot change. This is the future I cannot arrange. Then ask, what part of this belongs to me? Wait without forcing an answer. Perhaps a clear action arises. Perhaps you recognize an apology you need to make, a boundary you need to set, or a practical step you have avoided. Commit to that action. Then imagine placing everything beyond that action into hands larger than your own. You might say, God, I give you what I cannot carry wisely. Guide my actions, soften my fear, and help me release the outcome. Let me be an instrument of love, not a servant of control. Nothing dramatic may happen. The room may remain quiet. The problem may still be there. Yet something within you begins to shift because you are no longer standing alone against life. You are participating with life. This is what it means to live from intention. Intention is not the tense demand that the universe deliver a specific result. Intention is the quality of consciousness you choose to embody. You may intend peace before the conversation. You may intend kindness without surrendering truth. You may intend courage while fear is still present. You may intend trust without knowing what tomorrow contains. When your intention is peace, you begin to notice the thoughts that ask you to abandon peace. When your intention is love, you become aware of the places where control has disguised itself as care. When your intention is truth, you recognize how often you have betrayed your inner knowing to preserve approval. The outer situation may not change immediately, but your relationship with it changes. And a changed relationship often reveals choices that panic could not see. You may still need to leave. You may still need to stay and do difficult work. You may still receive news you did not want. Surrender is not a guarantee that life will follow the ego's preferred script. It is the recognition that even when the script changes, the sacred presence within you does not disappear. The spiritual path is not about arranging a life in which nothing painful ever happens. It is about discovering a place within that pain cannot destroy. It is remembering that your essence is not defined by changing circumstances. Bodies change, roles change, relationships change, plans change. But the life of spirit from which you came and in which you live remains available in every moment. This remembrance does not make you less human. It allows you to be fully human without being imprisoned by every human fear. You can grieve and still be connected to peace. You can feel anger without becoming cruelty. You can be uncertain without becoming lost. You can experience disappointment without concluding that God has abandoned you. Sometimes the burden is not removed. Sometimes you are given a new way to hold it. The circumstance may remain, but the loneliness inside it dissolves. You realize that being carried does not always mean being taken away from the difficult road. Sometimes it means discovering a presence, walking the road with you. Look at nature. A tree releases its leaves when their season is complete. It does not run after them. It does not shame itself for becoming bare. It stands in the open, trusting a renewal it cannot yet see. Winter does not look like growth, but life is still working beneath the surface. There may be leaves in your life that are ready to fall, an identity built around being needed, a relationship that exists only in memory, a plan that no longer contains your spirit, an old resentment, or the need to receive understanding from someone unable to give it. Let the leaf fall. You may grieve it. You may honor what it once meant. You may thank it for the lesson. But you do not need to chase what has completed its season. Empty branches are not evidence that life has ended. They are space through which new light can enter. Do not rush to fill every empty place. The ego fears emptiness because emptiness offers no image to control. Yet silence can be sacred. Waiting can restore you. A pause can become the place where false desires fall away and deeper guidance becomes audible. In that space, gratitude can return. Not a gratitude that denies pain or forces you to call suffering beautiful, but a gratitude that notices what remains: a breath, a friend, a lesson, a boundary finally understood, a small morning, a chance to begin again. Gratitude does not say that everything is pleasant. It says that everything is not lost. You begin to see that peace was never something life could give you only after every problem was solved. Peace is part of your spiritual nature. It becomes visible when you stop covering it with resistance, judgment, and the demand for certainty. This does not mean fear will never return. It may visit tomorrow. The mind may once again begin arranging futures and rehearsing losses. Do not turn that moment into evidence that you have failed spiritually. Meet fear with kindness. You can say, "I see you. I know you are trying to protect me, but you are not my highest guide." Then return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to what is actually happening, not what the mind is predicting. Ask again, what belongs to me now? Take the loving step. Release the rest. This is surrender as a daily way of living. Not one grand decision made forever, but 1,000 small returns from fear to trust. You release the conversation you cannot control. You release the timing you cannot command. You release the image others hold of you. You release the past that cannot be rewritten. You release the future that has not arrived. And each time you release, you make room for God. Not because God was absent, but because your hands were too full to feel the presence already holding you. So tonight, when the mind tries to carry tomorrow, pause, place your hand over your heart, feel the life moving within you without your effort. Remember that the same intelligence that breathes you is present in this uncertainty. Say quietly, "I will do what love asks of me. I will take responsibility for my choices. I will listen for the next step, but I will not carry what only God can resolve." Let the words become more than comfort. Let them become permission. Permission to rest before everything is fixed. Permission to stop rescuing people who must choose their own path. Permission to forgive without reopening the door to harm. Permission to grieve without becoming the grief. Permission to trust without having proof of the entire journey. You have spent long enough believing that vigilance is what keeps the world from falling apart. Perhaps the world has been held by a wisdom far greater than your worry all along. Let go of what you cannot control. Offer what you cannot repair. Release what has completed its season and allow God to carry what was never yours to hold alone. You may discover that surrender does not make you smaller. It returns you to your true strength. It does not remove you from life. It brings you fully into the only moment where love can act. It does not leave you empty. It opens you to the peace that was waiting beneath the struggle. You have carried enough. Now let yourself be carried. If this message has met you at the right moment, share in the comments one burden you are ready to place in God's hands. And if you wish to continue these quiet journeys into peace, forgiveness, and the truth of who you are, subscribe and return whenever your heart needs to remember.